Hey man, how's it going?
Howdy doody, how are you?
Howdy doody. I'm good. I'm good. I think we're both pretty well. We're doing okay. You're not feeling well, apparently.
No, I got sick.
I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully, this episode was not too difficult for you to watch and review then for this
Oh, I
time.
love this episode. It was a good episode.
It is a good episode. Episode 12 of season 2, Raging Bender. So, welcome back, everyone, to the Bite My Shiny Metal cast, where we like to review and talk about Futurama, whether or not we like or not like certain episodes. But this one we both fairly enjoyed, I think, right? This is probably one of the better
One
ones
of
of
the higher
season
ends,
two.
at least the one of the higher
Yeah.
starts for me.
Yeah. This one, well, if we'll just jump right into it, I guess. Like this is no cold open, kind of goes back to the just right into the intro. Nominated for 3 Glemmys is the opening little caption there at the bottom of the screen at the opening title. And we open with the crew actually is in the meeting room at the Planet Express headquarters there. A funny joke, I guess, with the toaster. Uh, doesn't really. I thought it might play more into the episode after rewatching it, but it actually doesn't do much. I guess maybe with robots, just
It's
the
a
idea.
robotic episode.
Right? That's kind of the idea, right? So the professor happens to make the toaster feel love, I
Yeah.
guess. So yeah, I guess there's a bit of a theme there. There's love and hate and the fighting, so it's all worth it. And I think this is probably one of your. I'm just gonna go right off the bat and say this. This is probably one of your favorite parts of the show. Is Hermes and he comes back. They're waiting for him, and he happens to have the brain slug on his
I do
head.
like the brain slug because
You've mentioned this a few times in the past, yeah.
it's one of my favorite things just because it's whenever you go to Comic-Con or something like that, especially in the
Sure.
last we'll say maybe before the last 5 years or something like that.
Mm.
But it was probably one of the simplest cheapest cosplays you could ever do was just have a little green thing on your head with an eye and two little antennas as a brain slug. And people who love Futurama will go, "Oh, it's a brain slug," and you're like, "Yeah."
Yeah, it
And that's
is.
that's
Yeah,
one of the reasons why I love it because it's from the universe of Futurama where you don't have to dress up like Fry or any of the people.
that's exactly it. Um, I also like the brain slug, but I think he's better. I mean, it. I don't think of it as being like a dress up thing or like a costume thing, but it is an easy, as you've mentioned, it's an easy thing to dress up as, right?
Also, there's a big background to it, kind of thing. Like I'm sure at some point, which I would love for them to do with the new episodes for next season, not
Hmm.
the new season, but go to that planet and maybe like find like the queen of the brain slugs or something like that.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting. It'd be like kind of a theme over the course. Well, how many times do we see the brain slug over the
Um,
course of the series?
like
Like
maybe
once or
twice,
twice,
twice.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is the only episode that are really like
Yeah.
shown and not advertised, but just like was a main component for the brain slug.
Sure, sure. Well, with that, we have, yeah, Hermes is did a little detour on the brain slug thing, and as Hermes speaks, it's clearly the brain slug saying like, "Oh yeah, Hermes stayed of his own free will," all this stuff, and then everyone's like, "Yeah, cool, Hermes, cool." Like they have to pretend that he's normal because they don't want to get assimilated.
And
Now,
you have to, yeah, use garlic
yeah,
shampoo. That
garlic
sounds like
shampoo.
a terrible smelling idea.
That's the point, I guess, right? Keep it away. Now this is what one of my favorites is like right here because I've used this in the past actually with people. The professor, after Hermes says his thing, the professor says, "Oh yeah, well that's great news, Hermes," and then he like whispers over to Fry, like, "Let's ditch him and go to the movies." That's probably one of my favorite lines of the entire series because I've used that in real life with people. So I've enjoyed I enjoyed that. Now one of the reasons I really like this episode, we go into these scenes and we get to see, I guess we've seen a cinema before, right? Like movie theaters before with the Futurama universe in, what was that one? The Fear of a Bot Planet? Technically, it was on the robot
Yeah, yeah,
world.
the robot planet where it's
Um,
they. Oh no, look at the human with his organs. Ah.
right, right. And actually, that movie that they were watching in that episode, I actually wrote down here is there. It's when a man. Sorry, it came from planet Earth. I believe that was the movie they were watching. So however long this is in the future, they're still playing it in the movies, or maybe it's like just got
Oh,
to Earth or
was that in the
something.
title of the like the outside the theater?
Kind of. It was so at the beginning of the scene.
Yeah, it
When
came from Planet Earth. Yeah, it's at the top
yeah,
there.
just at the beginning of there. So it came from Planet Earth. I think there was another one called Shaft on Refricon 9, which I believe is
Africon,
just
yeah.
this is a parody, I suppose, of like Shaft back in the day was like in a few movies, but they weren't considered to be very good movies. So it's just one of those parodies.
They redid it. Oh no, they redid it. They did a sequel to like because there's the original actor who played Shaft who was like I think 80 or something like that. Who
Mhm.
played no, he was like in his 70s or something like that, who played the father of Samuel L. Jackson, who's like in his 60s at this time. And then
Right.
then there was another kid who was probably roughly around her age, probably a little younger, like 25 or something at that point. And he played the son of Samuel L. Jackson. And like, hey, how's it going, pops? Your grandpapa here, blah blah blah. It's like, dude, that guy's like 6 years older than you.
Right. How is he playing this? All makeup. Yeah.
Yeah,
Makeup
just put
and
some white in his beard.
beards and
Boom. Yeah,
white. Yeah,
and let's
exactly.
make Samuel L. Jackson shave clean. Yeah, yeah, he looks young there. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
This is before he had the old man run in the
Yeah.
Marvels, the first movie.
Yeah, he looks 45 to 50 rather than 65 to 70 or
Yeah,
something with
exactly.
a
Yeah,
clean
yeah,
shaven. Yeah.
yeah. Clean shave, nice, shiny baldness. Yeah, it
Exactly.
takes
Yes.
off a few years.
Exactly. So yeah, so we have a few of those ones, and then there's one when a man loves a smizmar. Those are the ones at the front.
What is a
And then on
smizmar? Because they've said that word so many times in this series. Smizmar.
smizmar.
It's just like, is
Actually,
it an alien race or something?
I was actually just about to ask you that because so a smizmar, what isn't that what Kif and Amy are? Is smizmar or something, or is that a different term that he uses?
Okay, yeah, yeah. I just quick Googled it, and a smizmar is the love partner of a species. I can't remember. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Amphibian, whatever. Kif species. It's the love partner of that.
Amphibiosis or something, or
Yeah,
amphibiosin? Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Okay, well, it makes sense because we'll get into this in a little bit, but the ref or the ref, I guess, who's calling like in this corner, all this kind of stuff, like he is Kif's race. He's just a different color of him, right? He's the black and white one.
Right.
So
Yeah, like because they're kind of loosely based after frogs. Very
yeah,
loosely
some
based after
amphibians that can
frogs.
change their color of their skin and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's one of those species. I suppose that's why he's using it. So maybe it's just his culture. But yeah, Smizmar, I figured like so not man, not woman, Smizmar. So it could be like if you are able to change between these things, or maybe it's like an amphibian type of thing, like his planet one. Who knows? Any case, it does say when a man loves a Smizmar, so it's just something one of these ones. So one of those movies. But then inside, we also got the posters for some of these, right? And a couple of them, when Planet of the Clams, Galaxy Wars, Quizblorp, and then the one that they decide to go to, which is All My Circuits. I'm curious if you had the choice, which movie would you go to out of all of these? Do you have a
Probably
choice?
Galaxy Wars because it'd probably be it'd be better than the current Star Wars, regardless of whatever it
Sure.
is.
Are you a fan of historical documentaries, Mitchell?
In the future, maybe yes, but
Maybe.
well, let me
Cool.
see.
Yeah.
There's a lot of we're 2023 years in the future, right? Earth started at year zero,
Right.
right? Right, exactly. So there's 2023 years of history, and most of it we don't know. So a lot of it's all
Right.
speculation. So
Ah,
it
okay.
depends on what you want.
So
There's a lot of
you're
good World War II movies. There's a few good World War One movies. Um, oh crap, Die Hard. I don't know.
yeah, it's not a you're talking about like biopics or something like this. Well, I don't know if not that Die Hard's a biopic, but I don't know if there would be if I would go for the Galaxy Wars one that myself. I'm not a huge fan of like those kinds of documentaries, but I suppose if you're planting me 1,000 years in the future and then that movie's available, perhaps I would because yeah, we've missed out
Yeah,
thousands of years
exactly.
of
Yeah,
history.
yeah.
However, if I'm from that time, I probably wouldn't want to. If I were from that time and I was living there, I don't know. I kind of wanted to see Planet of the Clams actually. I think that'd be kind
You-
of fun. It's like a callback to
I will
Planet of
say
the
this.
Apes. Yeah, yeah.
A few weeks ago, the new trailer for the Planet of the
Planet
Apes
of the
movie.
Apes.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but it looks interesting. And I never really watched the original Planet of the Apes. I only watched the furthest back one I've watched was the Mark
Mark
Wahlberg one.
Wahlberg. Yeah,
Yeah, and that one was fun and interesting in its own way. But Tim Burton, is
that one
Tim
was just
Burton-esque.
okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah, that
and
was
then the
fine.
recent ones with
Yeah.
Gollum, the actor who played Gollum, which is Andy Serkis, he did a great job. And then he said some stupid stuff about animators. I was like, yeah, okay, man, you need to shut up. So because he was all about the motion capture stuff, right? Like he's like, motion capture doesn't need tweaking. It's like,
Oh,
yeah, it does, man. Yeah, it does. Maybe not nowadays, but like 5 years ago, even, yeah, it needed a lot of tweaking. Nowadays, it's probably like 90-10 kind of thing. Back then, it was like 50-50, maybe more, maybe less, in favor of the caption actors.
I
But
see. Sure.
yeah.
So he wanted more. He wants more. Well, I guess coming from that kind of
No, no,
background
he
as
was just
well,
saying
because
that
it was
it was
motion
kind of stupid
capture.
how they needed the animators to fix things and stuff like that. I can't remember what exactly what, but it
Oh,
was like,
okay.
why would I need them? They don't do anything. Kind of. It was along those lines. I don't know if those are exact words, but it was along the lines of like, yeah, they're not necessary. It's like, oh, they're necessary. Like they help out with a lot of the crap that you do. All that little subtlety stuff doesn't quite get picked up at the time. So like if he was like slowly picking up something very delicate and was trying to use fingers or something like that, it wouldn't translate as well if someone animating it. And you can do the same thing like back in like the first Harry Potter movie. That was kind of
Yeah.
before motion capture and stuff. And my best example to see where it looks weird and stuff was there's all hand animation back then. So it wasn't like someone did the thing and then just kind of, copied it over. So when Neville got picked up on his broomstick and kind of was falling around and stuff like that, you can see that's very cartoony would be the best way to say it. A lot of cartooniness
Yeah.
to it. So it wasn't motion captured. So needless to what I'm saying is no, I would not watch Planet of the Clams. I'd watch the Galaxy Star Wars.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Um,
yeah. Like I said, never I
yeah.
never watched the original ones. So.
Well, we've come a long way
Oh
from
hell yeah! Oh yeah!
like those
Even
kinds of
from
things,
even
right?
from like
So
the original
yeah.
Planet of the Apes, that was all math stuff, and that was pretty good for back then.
It
That
was
was that
really
was a
good. Oh,
revolution.
absolutely. Yeah. No, well, like the prosthetics and all that kind of stuff that they've done with mask stuff and, facial makeup and all that stuff, like what they've done in the past, even Lord of the Rings, which was also Andy Serkis's big thing with Gollum, like those are iconic when it comes to like how well they did costumes
Oh,
and
even the Hobbit, like you look at all the prosthetics and stuff for the
Hmm.
dwarves, it's crazy good.
Oh
It
yeah, the
is
prosthetics for the
crazy
dwarves
good.
are okay. It's when they did animate them in some way though, didn't they? They enlarged certain areas or they made like the
Um,
trolls completely CGI versus what
yeah,
they
yeah, yeah, yeah.
kind of in the past, right? So
Well,
it's
yeah,
very yeah.
I think most people will agree with me here. Like I'm in the animation industry, so I love all that stuff.
Mhm.
But practical effects beat CGI every time. And like
Of course, they're real.
even
Yeah.
yeah, even
Yeah.
when they do like 50-50, it's still better than full CGI. Like even today, like 2023, like we got some really good stuff. I like Avatar was made in 2009. The sequel was made last year. It
Hmm.
still looked pretty good, but practical will always beat CGI.
Yep. If James Cameron could have had the money, he probably could actually. If he had the technology to get to a planet and then film it there, he would have versus all that CGI. But in any case, yeah. So we follow with our group. So each one of them is kind of choosing a different movie. We hear a little bit about what they could be. Bender ends up making a recommendation for
All my
All My
circuits.
Circuits, the movie or the film or whatever it is. I think it's the movie. And yeah, they decided to go see it. So of course, All My Circuits with Maurice LaMarche reprising the calculon and all these kinds of things. This is interesting thing. So when they get into the theater, a couple of things happen. I guess they're sitting there, they're watching it, and the previews begin, and it's like this time in the universe, like this kind of like old day. Like we don't have those anymore. Those previews are long,
No,
long gone.
yeah.
And they're talking about like today versus like all this time, and it's one of those old timey 1930s voice, except it's like 1,000 years in the future, that fun retro futuristic stuff. And I think you would know this is the so remember so Fry says like, oh, this looks so super futuristic, and then there's like that silhouette of that character from like that old I think it was a Warner Brothers cartoon or something, but it was kind of like the silhouette, and he turns, it's like that cow face. Do you recognize that?
Oh, Bessie the cow from like the Mickey Mouse thing.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And it's like it's one of those classic silhouette looks that was like in the theater. They did a whole bunch of different shorts for them back in the day, like long time ago. And he says, "Hey, no talking during the movie." Like it's a nice little callback to that. So I thought that was really cool. I think it's a cow. It's one of those ones. In any case, they get to this, and Bender has a couple that sits in front of him to set the stage here. And one's like a chubbier, chubbier little female robot, I guess, pink robot, and a taller, slimmer male robot who's well spoken and a nice guy and all this stuff. And Bender's of course rude because the guy's quite tall, so he's like trying to get him to move and all this kind of stuff. Now in the movie, this has actually been discussed in the past. So Calculon's doing paperwork, and then he gets a call from his wife, girlfriend, lover, whatever character that is, because it's a soap opera. But it turns out It turns out there's like this it's an
Choose
action
adventure.
movie. Yeah,
Choose
it's a choose
adventure.
your adventure action movie type of thing. So it says if you want Calculon to go like check his paperwork, hit 1. If you want him to go and see what this is and his hover Ferrari, like hit 2. And everybody in the theater gets to choose what he gets to do.
1 or 2, yeah.
Yeah, 1 or 2. And there's even like these buttons on there. So what are your feelings on this? Because that's actually been discussed. I've heard people discuss this online and all this stuff. Like, do they want to choose your adventure movie?
No, I'd say don't do that. Like I don't think it would do very well.
That's the point. Yeah, it's not the point of it.
Like
video game,
how often are you branching out? Because it's one of those things where like if you always pick one side, it'll go to the left kind of the way. Like you always choose 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, it'll go to the number 1 ending. You can always choose number 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, it'll go to that ending. It just the way that you'd be filming it is if you did it 4 times, you'd have like 16 different endings or something like that.
Well, even more, because every time you make a decision 1 to 2, then that outcome that you were originally going to have for going 1, for example, no longer exists. So now you're having all these different endings every time, right? Like Calculon, as they choose, Calculon rechecking his paperwork instead of going to see it now makes him miss the action that was going on, and now he has a completely different story going on after that time. There's like 700 movies going on now. It's such an interesting concept, but I don't know if I definitely wouldn't like that either, because it's not the reason for having a movie. That's a video game, right? But because Calculon got chosen to do this, everybody's kind of bored with the movie, so Bender ends up like kicking the back of that guy's seat. He's throwing stuff at him, pisses him off. The guy turns out to be part of Ultimate Robot Fighting, which I think he was, what was he called? The masked unit or something?
Yeah.
Just some random name there. Masked unit. And he's like this giant robot. He like, his body extends and his arms get like these massive pipes and he's all this stuff. And Bender's like freaking out, runs away. Everybody starts running away because this guy's going to destroy Bender. And Bender drops his popcorn that he had bought, and it's all slippery with oil. Masked unit slips on it, hits his head, and everybody thinks Bender knocked him out. Classic. There's tons of shows have done this before, but Bender ends up becoming known in the theater now as the guy who knocked out the masked unit, and we get introduced to the commissioner, who pops up once or twice throughout the years as well. The robot wrestling or robot fighting. What was his name?
Oh crap! Something Double Deal.
Something Double Deal, right? Just the commissioner of the robot fighting guy. Yeah, I missed his name before.
Abner Double Deal.
What's his name?
Abner. Abner.
Abner Double Deal. Wow, that's a good name for a double face or two-faced guy, huh? Sleazy guy here. So he happens to be there for picking people for the next fight or whatever, and he wants Bender to join the Ultimate Fighting, which Bender accepts. He thinks it's going to be fun because he's popular. The guy makes a joke about, or makes mention about how Bender is not just popular, but he's quote unquote lowest common denominator, which I've heard way too many times in the past, because that's exactly what a lot of studios and companies are trying to go for, is the lowest common denominator, because of course that gets you the most money for everything.
Yeah. So if it's what was that? It was that one episode with Bender and Fry sharing tweets. It's like, they both have 1 million followers. Yes, but here's the thing: future, they all could have the same 1 million followers, or it could be everyone could be different. Million, so it's between 1 million and 2 million that they possibly could have. So it's like, somewhere in between there. You don't really know unless you have all the demographics. Which, if it was Twitter, they would know. Like, they're all different people who follow. All of these ones are robots for Bender. All these ones are humans for Fry.
But their lowest common denominator would be the million. The most of people that could potentially be there, right? Because it would appeal to everybody. Similar to how the Marvel movies were, how Harry Potter movies could have been, all this kind of stuff, right?
So brands for boys.
So Bender wants to join, but then everybody's saying like it's going to be super dangerous. Like, what are you thinking? All this stuff. And they're back at the Planet Express headquarters as well. But Leela actually ends up convincing him to keep with it, due to her history. So we learn a little bit more about Leela in this episode as well. It's not just a Bender episode, it's a Leela episode. And
it's like 60-40, maybe 65-35.
Well, based off of how it ends, I would say it's maybe not 50-50, you're right, but I would say it's also like very much like out of the trio, Fry is definitely the least in this episode, and there's a much higher percentage of Bender and Leela. But Leela has the more important aspects to it, I would say. She gains more from this episode, which we'll get into. But it turns out that when she was a child, she did martial arts, and her teacher her teacher was an obvious like actual, I want to be very clear on this, an actual sexist. Like, he actually believed boys were better than girls, and stated to her on multiple occasions that she would never be better than a boy because she was a girl. This was out of his mouth. She lacks the will of the warrior. What does he say? Like the will of a housewife or the will of a school mom or something at best, something like this.
I love this because she's kicking ass and roundhouse kicking people, and then he's like, congratulations, Will. Hey, other boy on the ground. When you both wake up, make sure you congratulate Will. And then she's like, what the hell? Like, I kicked both these guys' asses. Yeah. Shut up, woman, kind of thing. And she's like, well, watch this. And she just kicks the guy while he's down.
It's like, beating your opponent is not all that makes you a will of a warrior. You have to have other things. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he kicks somebody's down. And it's like, oh, yeah, exactly. But no, it's this whole thing, and then he, makes her feel horrible about herself. We find out this is like when she's in high school, so I guess 15, 16 years old. And so she always resented this part of it. But now it's so good because this actually has that canonically explains how Leela knows karate, martial arts. Yeah, how she fights and everything, like everything throughout the series. Now we get it. So this guy actually did teach her, but just would never promote her or progress her or show her respect or anything because she was a girl. So horrible character. Thnog, I think his name was, right?
Yeah, Fnog. It's like frog, but the R and N.
Okay.
Fnog.
I wrote, yeah, okay. I was thinking it was like Thnog, like THNOG, but yeah, that's fine. So Thnog. Okay. So, any case.
He's supposed to look like Yoda, but he's a bug. But he's also supposed to be like a terrible version of Mr. Miyagi.
Exactly. No, he's a mix of a bug and Mr. Miyagi. That's how and the color green of like Yoda's thing. So he's supposed to be like that master look. Yeah, he's small, but yeah, big bug eyes, and he's like, ha ha ha. I think it's Billy West. It's probably Billy West.
No, it's David Herman.
Oh, it's Herman. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, David Herman didn't do as many voices for this. I think he does another robot as well, but yeah.
Well, he does quite a lot of voices, but it kind of sounds like Billy West sometimes.
Yeah, in this episode, I mean, he does a few of them. So. Now Leela convinces Bender to continue, and afterwards he or she brings him around, all this kind of stuff. They do a little montage of fighting, and then we bring it to the first fight, and Bender is, getting ready for it or whatever. Now, the first guy that he has to fight is like a lumberjack type of, what's his name? The clear cutter. I guess we could say there's a couple of funny little scenes in this, but I really enjoy so Bender goes to fight him. The guy's a lumberjack, so he has like a chainsaw or a drill or something and an axe. So he hits Bender with the axe, and then he drills him in the head. And Leela makes a mention of like, stop scratching your axe hole, because Bender's like rubbing his back or whatever because it hurts. And by accident, Bender does a little twisty thing with his leg, and the guy runs into his foot and quote unquote knocks him out, right? Bender wins the match, and he does it very, very quickly. So Bender's like, oh my God, like,
I killed a guy.
I killed that guy. And he's like kind of happy, but at the same time, he's like super surprised. But as we find out, ultimate robot fighting is rigged. It's supposed to be for the most popular person, the most popular robot will win the fight. Now, this is Bender learning this, and then he becomes his name for this time, Bender the Offender, I guess, right? That's his robot fighting name. And he faces off against a few other robots with another montage. The billionaire bot, who we meet a couple times throughout the series. The foreigner. Look at my crazy passport. I don't think we've ever see him again. I think he's just a random character, maybe in the background somewhere. And then the chain smoker robot, which I do think pops up again when they go to the robot island for one of the episodes in the future. But yeah, Bender beats them all in ridiculous ways and humorous ways, and he ends up being the winner. Who do you think would be your favorite of the robot fighting one if you were to choose one of these guys, including the what's his name, the clear cutter, the lumberjack one? Who do you think was your favorite?
Probably Clear Cutter, I would say, out of all these, because I don't really care about Billionaire Bot or whatever his name was. The Foreigner is just a one joke. It's just, I'm not from around here. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And the chain smokers, I'm going to your favorite restaurant, and they like blow smoke on everyone. I don't know. I think the foreigner is actually my favorite just because he's so like two dimensional. Like there's nothing about him. He's just like, look at me, I'm not from here. I look at my passport. Look at all this stuff, and he's dressed like I don't even know, like an old century Hispanic looking, like Spanish type of person or whatever, with this mustache. Like he's clearly not from anywhere in particular. So I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. But in any case, Bender becomes, what would you say to this? Like becomes self-absorbed, yeah?
Oh yeah, it's Bender, of course. Bender is great. Yeah. Is his theme song.
That's true.
Bender is great.
It's great.
Bender,
yep.
Bender.
So anyway, he's been missing a lot of work with Leela, and so Leela gets pissed off at him, and he shows up. He's like, I don't need you anymore. Like you're like, I'm popular and all this stuff. I have the most power, whatever, right? And so after this, it turns out though that they don't want him in there anymore because he's not moving as much money as he used to. He's not moving as much merchandise. So they're going to replace him with a robot that is in a lot of episodes in the future, despite not being connected with the master, but Destructor. I think this is Maurice LaMarche, if I'm not mistaken. And he is going to be replacing him as the more popular robot fighter, where Bender is now going to be replaced as the gender bender. So, he'll threaten your sexuality. So Destructor, mechanical menace, just
I love the way they introduced
4 tons of metal. Yeah.
Because when they introduced him, they basically is like the guy's like, look over here, and then there's this garage door that opens.
Yeah.
And then he busts through the wall next to it. I would have held that just as if I was a director, I would have been like, let's make the garage door open up just a little more slower, like give it like 2 seconds rather than the half a second it gave, and then have it go.
And he just busts in or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
you laid Superman through the wall.
Right. You could have had it open up, and then maybe like a janitor robot could have come in, making Bender think it was going to be the new guy, but then he actually busts through the wall and like squishes him or something. Yeah.
The wax, you could have had wax robot. Yeah.
Yeah, you could have had like a good joke in that area, but that's okay. I think the Kool-Aid joke thing is pretty funny. But then actually Bender's response to that, he's like, yeah, what if I don't want to lose? Like then he's gonna beat you the old-fashioned way, and then he's like, send in the new guy, comes in. And then Bender's like, see you at the fight. And he's like putting on his tutu because that's his new costume. So I thought that's actually pretty funny joke. And then of course it cuts to commercial break for like that, the period of time that it would have the commercials. And then he's back at the headquarters and he's telling them the story, and he finishes the story saying the same thing, like, see you at the fight. Yeah. So Bender's like desperate. So he goes back to Leela, and Leela's like, no, I'm not gonna. Why would I help you when you do need it? When you didn't want my help? When you didn't need it or something? And the professor's like, "What the hell are you talking about? Just help him." And she's like, "No," and she's stubborn, right? As Leela is. And then she turns on the TV, and it turns out Destructor has the master. I'll say quote unquote, because of course we know, but the master is her former master, which is why I think this revolves more around her than Bender in like the thematic ways of this episode.
We're like in the last third here, so like that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like it's like she had a little blip there, and now the last third's kind of about her, which is why I say it's like a 35, maybe 40% her, and then the rest is all Bender. Majority is Bender.
Sure, but Fnog is definitely like a big portion of this, right? And I think it's unfortunate we never really see him again, but I guess maybe he died. Maybe he died in this episode.
According to the Futurama wiki, he's in 2 episodes. So
is he now? He's probably in the background of one of them.
Yeah.
I don't remember him ever speaking again.
It's probably in that wild, like the Wild Green Yonder, where he's in the audience
When
somewhere.
all the people behind,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's probably also the foreigners probably in there too, but
I
I
would
don't
love
count
that if
that.
that was the case.
Yeah, I don't count that. But in any case, if he does move again in another episode, I don't remember seeing it, but we'll keep our eyes open for that in the future. But it turns out, yeah, Fnog is the master of Destructor, and so Leela's like, oh, my revenge is bigger than my stubbornness of not wanting to help Bender. So she ends up helping him again, teaching him how to fight like a girl. There's a lot of good play on words in this episode, actually, I find, because he's like, now the gender bender, she's going to teach him to fight like a girl. Fnog says something like, interesting. Woman who pretends to be fighter, trains fighter, pretends to be girl. Like, there's a lot of little catchy things in this episode. I like it. So they get to the ring, and Fnog is there, obviously, with Destructor and all these guys, and the Kif race, Amphibiosin referee says the whole thing, and they ding it. Bender's getting his ass kicked, totally getting his ass kicked by Destructor. And we haven't really spoken much about this as well, but except for the beginning. But Hermes has been constantly trying to get people to be with the brain slugs. So he's been trying to do it to Fry. He's been trying to do it like the small boy in front of him during one of the fights that like Amy stops him.
I missed that part.
It's like a very blink and you'll miss it kind of scene. Just like Amy does this little like holds his hand and shakes her head type of thing, like just knocking it out of the way. This is earlier in the episode. Anyway, Bender's getting beaten by Destructor, gets smashed, and he keeps on like begging Fry to throw in the towel, right? Because this is like the fight, and Fry's just staring at him, and we don't notice until he turns his head, and he also has a brain slug, so he's controlled, so he's not going to help Bender. And then Leela is like, okay, come on, Fnog, throw in the towel, call him off, and then it turns out he's gone. There's a little satellite thing there, like controlling him. So Leela, as Bender's still being pummeled, and Bender's like, why will nobody help me? He's like just lying on the ground. And Fnog is controlling Destructor under the stadium or under the ring.
Under the ring.
Yeah. So she gets in there. They duke it out. They have more like Fnog really shows us true colors. Like he even states like, oh, you're a great student. It's too bad I was a lousy teacher and all this stuff. And they fight. And Leela tricks him into having Destructor, who's above them, punch through the ground and punch him in the back, thus knocking him out and knocking out Destructor. And Leela's like, yes, that was my victory. I beat the master, I beat him, and I have my confidence, all whatever. And then above, Bender's like, yeah, I win. But then Destructor falls on top of him, and because he's on top of him, he thus wins. Therefore, Bender loses. So he's no longer the ultimate fighter. He got pinned, unfortunately. So at the end, that's the whole thing, and Leela comes out on top, but Bender, of course, is completely flattened. They get like a gift card or something from the guy who we will see again in the future, which is...
he's in a few episodes, yeah. Yeah,
he's in a couple episodes. He's always some sleazy business guy, but he's always there. And then another funny scene, Fry shows up. He's like, hey, I heard somebody got hurt or somebody got flattened. And he's like, where's your brain slug, Fry? And then the professor says like, oh, he died of starvation.
It might have something to do with that brainwave that Fry doesn't have or something. They eat that brainwave.
I was just about to say it's probably the delta brainwave. Not that Fry is necessarily so stupid. It's probably because he lacks the delta brainwave, which we learn later in the future. Or maybe it is because he just doesn't use his brain very much, which we know as well.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that was the whole case there. And then they all leave by picking him up. I kind of forgot to mention, but like there's the Rich Little and George Foreman. Not obviously George Foreman, but like the two announcers or whatever for there. So they have some pretty good back and forth.
Yeah, that's actually Rich Little, who's a comedian. I had to look him up because I'm like, I know this guy's important, but I don't know who he is because I'm like, was he a sportscaster? No, it's a comedian who did impersonations.
Yes, he was impersonating a sportscaster. He even says that at the beginning, right? This is Rich Little impersonating. Was it Harvey Keitel or not Harvey Keitel? Some other name or whatever it was. And then George Foreman, who I believe is played by Phil Lamar for this because Foreman's passed away. But they have some good back and forth. A funny joke about Muhammad Ali fighting some 800-foot or 80-foot tall robot other boxer, and the world got destroyed. And it's all there. But yeah, that's the episode there for Raging Bender. So let's get into it. Your thoughts, your favorite episode, your favorite scenes, your funniest scenes, your MVP. What do you think?
I don't know. There wasn't really a favorite scene that popped out to me. Like I did like the brain slug thing, but that was more of just a little joke
Mhm.
rather than like a scene, so to speak. So to be.
Why
Uh,
is there a scene of the brain slug that stands out to you amongst all of them? Because there's like a few of them, right? There's like when he first arrives. There's the one with Fry. There's one when he's trying to give one to Fry.
Not really. No, I'd say no.
When it gets kicked off. No.
I'll go with just the Bender fight with Destructor. It's got some funny stuff in there, especially when he's like, "All right, Destructor, prepare to be bended," and then he just like taps him, and he's like, "Oh, well, that didn't go very well,"
Oh yeah,
and he
no,
gets
he's like
smushed.
he says something about like last call for going to like airbender with going to paid or something, and then he kicks him and
Exactly.
then nothing happens and he's like, okay, now like for last call for other passengers or whatever, and he hits him. Yeah. Okay, that one's good. I do like
And
his
then
montage. I do like his montage of like he with Leela fighting all of them, or sorry, not he and
oh,
Leela, but he
okay,
fighting
there
all
we
the
go.
wrestlers randomly. Yeah.
I found my favorite thing is what is the flashback to Leela kicking those guys' ass and then just kicking
Right.
the guy while he was down, I think twice. So I'll go with that one's my favorite. That one's my favorite. Cause like, look what I
Sure.
can do. I kick these guys' ass. Look what I can do. Oh, why would you kick me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that.
Yep, that was a funny line. I do like his I do like Fnog in this. I think he is quite funny for that. So a lot of the scenes with him, because I also did martial arts, so I like this like pretending of like having that wisdom, but it turns out he's a real asshole. So I think that's pretty funny. I think my one of my favorite jokes I think is the axe hole. Stop scratching your axe hole and get up. You have to do this. But yeah, I guess for that, the brain slug. Yeah, a lot of good ones. Although I do really like the scene with all the movies because I'm just a big movie fan. I love seeing like what they did with all of them and like the little parodies. I did forget to say as well, all my circuits, the beginning of it is a clear parody of James Bond, like the original James Bond stuff there with the intro and the sliding titles and the dancing women or anything. So that's clearly that one. What about your MVP? Who would you say for
Oof.
this
It's probably
episode?
just I'll just probably make it Bender because it's just like it just kind of proves what a wimp he is, and then like he's like, oh yeah, I'm the best thing to ever happen. Oh crap, I gotta see you at the fight.
See you at the
So
fun. Yeah,
and
exactly.
then kind of like the okay, I'll try and beat his ass. Oh crap, and then I win. Did I win? No. Oh, here's a coupon. Yay.
Yay, I'm the greatest. Yeah, and he's like, I'm in so much pain. Yeah, I was thinking Bender because this is more. I guess you're right. Is more his episode. He's like more in it, focused on him for that. But I'm gonna give it to Leela just because I think Leela has the better scenes for me. I think I laugh more about what which is actually not very common. She doesn't make me laugh as much as the other characters, but this one she definitely does with a lot of her words, especially her phrasing. Like when you didn't need my help and I offered it to you, but now you need my help, and why would I give you my help now or whatever it is? Like I thought that was pretty funny. I like that. But good, excellent. So that is Raging Vendor of this solid episode. I say like it's one of. I honestly didn't think I didn't remember liking this one as much as I did when I rewatched it. So I'm glad I did. And then for next time we have a what is it? Biclops built for two uh, episode 13 of season 2 here. So we'll see everybody next time for that. Thank you again, Mitchell, for joining me. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one. Feel
I will.
better.
I will.